the CRC. We really appreciate that. I'll count up the kits and deliver those tomorrow, so we'll get a report out on that here by the weekend. It's 7:01 and we have a quorum, so we're going to call the meeting of the Clintonville Area Commission to order for December. And can I just take me a moment to pull up the agenda? Yes. I do, I just didn't download it yet. Okay. Alright, thank you, Commissioner Latta, for getting out the agenda. Before we do the pledge, are there any additions or edits from commissioners to the agenda for the evening? Alright, was there a motion to approve the agenda?
So,
All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Wonderful. The agenda is approved, and we'll kick off our meeting by standing if you're able, and we'll go ahead and say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. District updates, we'll kick off with Commissioner Moritz from District 6.
Mark Moritz, District 6. But one update, I got contacted by residents from Courtyard Estates, which is just south of Graceland, and that has been sold to a new owner. And there are some vacancies in the Courtyard Estates, and so the neighbors are concerned about what will happen with the Courtyard Estates, whether they will be able to live there. I tried to contact the new owner, but I have not heard back yet. So there's uncertainty about what's going on. The other thing is that I celebrated the opening of the new on-10G connector. And also saw that it is unsafe. But those are the updates.
Thank you. Commissioner Hively.
Josh Hively, District 8, nothing to report.
Thank you. And I failed to note, Commissioners Miller and Saucer are both excused absences. Do you remember whether we received a note from Brenda as well? I'm not sure about Commissioner Arnold. She might just be running late, so I'll touch base with her, but the other two commissioners are excused absences. Brittany Bolton, District 5, Central Clintonville. For those who are coming in, we did our annual hygiene kit drive for the CRC tonight, so thank you to everybody who was so generous. We have lots of students come and help put together hygiene kits for unhoused folks, so we'll get those delivered this weekend. Aside from that, lots of emails around the Columbus Growth Strategy, which we'll talk more about this evening, as well as some traffic around the 1TG connector. Commissioner Latta.
All out of District 1. I too attended the ribbon cutting for the connector of the bike trail. Well attended. Also, in Unola, the repaving project is moving along, not the repaving part, but the curbs and bump outs. There's bump outs at Subi 35 and at the Crestview and Unola. Those are constructed, so watch out for them. And we're looking forward to the paving next spring, so that's it.
Commissioner Lee Osborne.
Lee Osborne, District 3. I wanted to announce the 17th annual Clintonville Christmas tree lighting is this Sunday. Activities start at 6 o'clock. Tree lighting is around 7:30. So if you want to attend that, it's very cute, right in front of where we're meeting right now along High Street. I've had a lot of emails about the safety or unsafe conditions at West North Broadway and 315. So hopefully in the future that can be addressed. I've had requests for our website to be updated, with Brenda's name added.
Yes.
And then also mine.
Yes.
Taken down too and add Will at the same time. If we could do that, would be great. And then I had just a couple comments since this is my last meeting. We'd had a lot of projects that we've worked on in the last 3 years, and I don't think we got them finished, just because it takes time. So hopefully, I hope this body still works on reducing speeds in Clintonville, with possibly parking permitted along High Street to narrow and slow traffic, in addition to probably a protected bike lane. We talked a lot about flashing pedestrian activated crosswalks, and we weren't successful in getting that implemented yet, but hopefully those can come to High and Dunedin, so it's safer for the farmers market. And then also at East Weber and Summit, where we had a very tragic accident, but luckily not fatal. And then I'm also been a proponent for the graffiti removal and more public art. And then finally, the tree canopy. I've noticed just on my own street, we're now missing almost 50 trees. West North Broadway, 20 trees have been removed. East North Broadway, over 25. And mostly stumps remain. So there's been some planting, but it's been minimal. So that will be a project I'll be working on the side to hopefully get that replanted, and hopefully people will do that on their own streets too, to make sure that Clintonville is not losing the tree canopy, because as I drive down other streets, I'm noticing a lot of trees unfortunately coming down. So that was all, but thank you.
Well, Commissioner Lee Osborne, I know we all want to thank you for your service on the commission, and I know your community activism predates my own involvement in the commission, and Clintonville is very lucky to have you. I can't speak highly enough to how responsive you are. I don't think a day ever went by that you didn't respond to an email within hours, whether it was from a neighbor or a fellow commissioner. So just really appreciate how much heart you put into this work, and especially your just absolute doggedness on the speed issue, that you have been such a champion for lowering those speeds. So we just have a very small token of appreciation from your colleagues, and I would just love to offer a round of applause to Commissioner Commissioner Wyman.
Mike Wyman, District 7. We had a fatal traffic accident on East Cook Road at Overbrook on the 30th. So I have to report.
It's tough to move on from that to the next agenda item, but I think it underscores the importance of some of what our comments have revolved around tonight. Commissioner Moritz has the meetings from our November meeting to put forward.
3 sets of minutes to put forward on our October meeting, because we didn't approve that last time, because not everybody had reviewed it. The minutes for the November meeting, and then the minutes for the special meeting we had also in November.
Could we do them one by one? Because I know I was absent for one and want to abstain, so I'm not voting. Okay.
Yeah.
So let's go
I
ahead.
didn't hear any, didn't get any feedback, except they were good. So I'm first to put forward to approve the minutes of the October meeting.
So moved. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed or abstained?
I need to abstain.
Commissioner Lee Osborne abstains from October.
Okay. Then the next one would be the minutes for a regular November meeting.
And no edits.
No.
And I was absent, so I'll ask for another commissioner to move.
I'll move it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And I will abstain from November's vote.
And the last one is the minutes of our special November meeting of Columbus Grove Strategy.
I move to approve the minutes. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed or abstained?
I need to abstain.
Commissioner Miller is absent this evening, but I'll note that we received an updated balance sheet from the city, from Department of Neighborhood, so we'll go ahead and share that. I'll let him share that out next month. I don't think there's any major expenditures to happen in the next, between now and the January meeting. On that note, the January meeting is currently scheduled to take place on the 1st, which is a holiday recognized in many workplaces. I would like to move that we postpone our January 1st meeting to Thursday, January 8th, so that we have better attendance from commissioners and the public. Is there a second to move our meeting from January 1st to January 8th, 2026?
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Great. So we'll update on our social media and our website. Please note, and we'll say it again at the end of the meeting, our January meeting will be January 8th, 2026. At this point, I would love to welcome our friends from the Department of Neighborhoods, Ms. Patel.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Stacey Biddle. I'm the neighborhood liaison for Clintonville. I don't have a whole lot of updates, but I did bring a list from the Community Shelter Board of the winter warming centers now available. I have additional copies over there. You're more than welcome to take them. And if you would like them emailed, I can just really give you my card. And then you email me and I'll just shoot them right back at you. Playground Estates, I have an update for you. I too had someone reach out for the same reason, and this is just, I just received this yesterday. So let me just kind of share that with you. So her name is Amy Cole, and I will forward this to you as well. Said she's spoken to many residents, sending a letter out tomorrow, the letter and a sheet for them to fill out so they can get their information. She's attached the documents, so you'll see that. And that she just started for this company last Monday. So I guess they didn't have anybody, which, you know, I don't know why they wouldn't have an interim, but they do have a permanent person managing that property right now, and she has reached out, and I did share, and we can talk after if it's maybe the same person that reached out to both of us, but I did forward that person's email and contact information for her to say, just make sure that this person, because they're especially concerned. So I do have that information that I can share with you that you can share with your people. So,
Okay.
all right. So unless anyone has any questions. Awesome.
Thank you. And I don't believe we have city council.
She was unable to attend.
Okay, thank you. Any other city offices I might be missing? Okay. The next item on the agenda is the Olentangy Trail Connector. I would love to start with our Planning and Development Committee presentation, and then I know we've got folks from the city here as well, and I think if we have our neighborhood presentation, then we can have a great back and forth and answer community questions and commissioner questions as well. That sounds amenable to other commissioners. Okay, wonderful. And Jacob, do you want to drive? I can hand over or do you want me to? I can, either way. What is happening? There we go.
You can drive us on the variable.
You think that, but it's getting mad at me.
So, I'm Jacob Miller. I'm a member of the Planning and Development Committee. Also, our chair, Eliza Pendexter, is here as well. She'll talk a little bit more after about the resolution that we're proposing tonight. But you know, basically, we have heard a lot of the same concerns that the commission brought up already. You know, we've seen the news articles, we've seen a lot of the things, and so we at our last meeting had a discussion of, okay, what are some potential solutions? What should, you know, what can the committee do? What can we recommend to the commission to do in your what's in your power? What, you know, what can we offer at this moment? And so that was our discussion at last week's meeting, and so now we want to present basically what our, you know, what we see as the issues that are going on, and then maybe some potential remedies for those. And so we want to go to the next. Like I said, we're just going to give some background on this project, address some of the safety issues that are happening, then provide our recommendations, and then talk about the CAC resolution. So if you're not familiar, this is the, you know, arrangement of the Olentangy Trail before this new project. You know, it originally cut through the neighborhoods and then crossed North Broadway at Milton Avenue. And for a long time, this has been something of concern for the commission, for Clintonville, you know, just anybody who uses the trail, because you know, it's a missing piece of the puzzle. It you know, involves having to cross at Milton Avenue, which there have been some crashes there, and you know, it also just in general is you have to interact with cars. It's not very comfortable. So with the next slide, so some history on this. A new trail connection I've seen was first proposed in 2018. I think the planning for it started even before then. But the idea was basically to solve some of those conflicts between the trail users and the vehicles on neighborhood streets, and avoid some of those safety issues at Milton Avenue. And at the time, CAC voiced support for the project, and I think for the most part, the P&D, CAC were all very supportive of this new connection. I think everyone agreed that this was needed. It's just the North Broadway component that is really seems to have be problematic or have a safety issue. I think every other piece of it has been really nice, and I've ridden it myself and really enjoyed it. But you can see here, so this is the new map. This is what it looks like. And you can see now it crosses at grade at North Broadway at that intersection. And like I said before, the rest of it is really nice. The bridges are all beautiful and everything. It's just that one problematic crossing of North Broadway that we're talking about tonight. During the project's design phase in 2023, mostly there were several public meetings, and I was able to find records about concerns about the safety going back to then. I know we've had discussions amongst the Planning and Development Committee about concerns for that, during the design process. And in response, the design changed, and it was stated that there would be what's called a leading pedestrian interval at that crossing. So an LPI basically provides pedestrians or the bicyclists a 3-second head start so they can start crossing the street. You might see some, I think there's one right up here on High Street that they installed, I think, in the past year.
Olentangy, Kelso,
and Olentangy, yeah, there as well. So they have implemented a few in Clintonville, and they just basically give that head start so then the pedestrians already in the crosswalk and already maybe about halfway before cars start turning. But between February 2024 design and the June 2024 design, the LPI was removed, and we did not receive any notice. There wasn't the public engagement process had ended at that point. I mean, me personally, I wasn't even aware that the LPI had been removed until I was writing it myself and pressed the button and did not receive the LPI. So I was a little surprised to find that out once it came to the actual design. So that's kind of one of our big concerns with the project. So and again, this is just there have been lots of 311 requests, social media, news coverage. This has been heavily covered since it's opened in November 2025. We can go to the next slide. So I don't know if we have time for this video. It's very short, but it's basically just showing somebody trying to cross, and you can see in the video that there are multiple left turns.
We have time.
Yeah.
Do we have sound? That will be the question.
You don't need sound for this.
Good point. Cool.
We'll just go very beautiful.
You don't need to listen to that. Let's do it.
We're an answer. That's just an apple.
Oh, yeah.
It's terrible.
Ugly sweater contest.
I feel like the time went.
I just restarted, yeah.
We don't have
to play If people want to click on the link and watch it themselves, but I have a graphic here to kind of demonstrate what is shown in the video. If you just want to go back and
Okay.
Let
me try one more.
Yeah.
But actually, it's buffered.
Yes,
It's buffered.
Maybe.
Bless it. I'll pause. We'll keep going, and I'll see if it buffers more. Ooh, skip that button.
There you go.
This is a slightly different video, but
This is a different video. Some points are being made, though, I
yeah,
think. This isn't the white truck video that I was Isn't there one?
No, yeah, that's the one I think I had shared.
This was the learning.
That shows it. So, the biggest concern and the biggest safety issue is the multiple turning movements that are allowed at the same time as the trail crossing. So, I think most notably the left turn coming off of 315 on that off ramp going eastbound on North Broadway is where traffic is coming at high speeds. People are trying to make that light. They have bad visibility of the trail until they are already in the intersection and making that kind of sweeping left turn. But also we have seen, you can see in some of the videos, the right turns from Ohio Health Parkway, North Broadway eastbound are problematic as well. So if we go to the next slide, so this is basically just showing these are the two main issues. The big one is the red arrow is showing that left turn onto West North Broadway going eastbound, and then the yellow arrow is not quite as much of a concern because vehicles are going at much slower speeds, but still could be potentially problematic. And then go to the next slide. And then these are some other safety issues or just general things that could lead to some safety issues that we noticed. So the right turn from North Broadway to 315, I think the other video shows this, which is important, is there's a new no turn on red sign that turns on when the crossing is activated. It's like an LED no turn on red sign. But that's a new thing I think people are still getting used to and don't really see very often. And so cars are still turning right on red, or they're pulling forward like they used to, and they're blocking the crosswalk. So neither of those is great. Obviously, a full turn on right on red is going to be even more dangerous. But either way, it's not a great condition. Next is the push buttons. Some push buttons aren't required. This one is. You do have to press the button to get that crossing cycle, and I don't think a lot of people necessarily know that. Plus, they're not necessarily well placed, especially if you're on a bike. So I don't know if the utilization of those is that great.
There's a sign further away from there on the bike path that says.
I think that's new now.
Yeah.
That was just put in. I have noted that. And then just general lighting and signage for warn users. And again, I'm going to talk about what the city has done since it opened, because they have addressed some of these issues. But I just wanted to note, kind of what were our other overall issues. Go to the next slide. So yeah, just a perfect segue. The city has undertaken or said they will do these actions. So portable message boards, you may have seen that those signs and markings telling pedestrians to use the button have been placed. They've also said they will add a beeping auditory feature to the signal that will basically notify people that they can't cross if you have a vision impairment. And said they are currently studying alternative signal phasing. So that's kind of where we are now. So they are aware of these issues, and they are they are studying them. So that's kind of what leads to our recommendations. Is we want to this seems like a good time for the commission to provide their input and for us to provide a recommendation. So that's on the next one. And this is what we consider kind of our preferred solution when we were talking about all the possible solutions. And it was to fully separate the trail crossing phase. We're talking about the different phases of the traffic signal. Separate that from any conflicting movement. So basically, don't allow people to make that left turn or that right turn at the same time as the crossing is active. And this is the solution that we saw was recommended by the ODOT Multimodal Design Guide because of high bicycle and pedestrian volumes and what we believed was the safest solution because it completely removes those interactions between trail users and vehicles. So if we go to the next slide, so this is kind of showing, this is like, these would be some of the movements that would be allowed during the trail crossing phase. So as you can see, there's no conflicts anymore between the trail crossing and these other phases. Go to the next one. So if that solution is not feasible for all sorts of different reasons, we think implementing that leading pedestrian interval that was talked about in the initial design, we think would be an improvement. So again, that's that 3 to 7 second head start for the crossing. Like I said earlier, the city has implemented these at several other Clintonville locations and to improve safety. So it's something that the city is familiar with and has implemented before. And then also the drawback to LPI is that it could still lead to unsafe conditions because you know, the person still has, it's pretty far crossing, so a 3 to 7 second head start doesn't necessarily get you all the way. It might get you to that, you know, that pedestrian refuge island in the median that's there, which is beneficial, but you might then have to wait a whole another light cycle to get across, which is not great. So it's an improvement, but that's the reason why it's not our preferred solution. But it could potentially lead to less, you know, traffic delay if that's the overarching concern. So that might be a sort of a compromise option for the city, or at least in our opinion. And then these are other recommendations I can talk about real quickly. It's just like, these are overall improvements that we discuss. They don't necessarily depend on an LPI or a dedicated trail crossing phase. These are all sort of in addition to. So not to replace either of those options. But basically implementing more speed management techniques, especially coming down 315 on that off ramp. So that could be like rumble strips, you know, speed bumps. I don't know those are necessarily common in ODOT's, you know, off ramps or anything like that, but is an option. But I think rumble strips, that is something that they have implemented. It could be valuable. The push buttons, replacing that with passive pet bike detections, basically like cameras or sensors that would detect, and so people wouldn't have to press the button, or just simply revising their location and design to increase the utilization. Implement a no turn on red sign. So this is different than the one I was talking about before. This one would be on facing Ohio Health for that right turn that I talked about was problematic, going east on North Broadway. And that was a part of the design at one point, and I don't know what happened to it. So I think adding that back in would be valuable. And then finally, improving overall visibility and lighting. So that's like direct lighting, like overhead lighting, just to make it more visible. But also there's options for like morning weekends, which are occasionally used. So to wrap things up, we drafted a resolution for the CEC's consideration tonight, basically laying out everything that I mentioned in this presentation, the issues and our recommendations. And we really think this is a great opportunity for the CEC to have input, since the city is reviewing some potential alternatives to the existing solution. So let me know if you have any questions.
I am really grateful to P&D for prioritizing this and being so quick to respond to the community cry for support on these needed changes. I don't think I have questions at this point. Do other commissioners have questions?
I did. For the LPI is something I would like to see, but I didn't even think of the other solution that you offered where left turners are hitting 315, but that's when the signal's green for peds. And I think that's separating those uses almost.
Yeah.
When you initially said separate uses, I thought, oh, bridge. But no, that's not what you meant.
I think that was always going to be very difficult, and that was never considered as like a totally feasible option. So I think the crossing, itself is, there's definitely room to improve it, and I think it could be a perfectly safe, crossing without a bridge or anything like that.
I think the project as a whole is great.
For sure.
Yeah, it's terrific.
Paul, I did also want to mention, I think, Rec and Parks, City Columbus Public Service Department, this is a lot, getting us closer to filling in that gap, and we do also understand there's a lot of nuance with ODOT jurisdiction versus city jurisdiction versus it being a Rec and Parks project, and we know these things are difficult to negotiate, especially when you also really can't have people backing up onto the freeway. That's considered a major safety issue for ODOT as well. So we put together some recommendations. We understand too that Rec and Parks may be exploring a lot of these already. And we did also just also suggest in this resolution, besides summarizing what Jacob presented, just enhancing other things like lighting, and also just looking at generally longer term multimodal safety and speed management practices that can help in North Broadway and this vicinity in general. We do acknowledge too that the dynamic no turn on red sign and having the median island are improvements that we did not see in city projects in the past. So we do appreciate that attempts are made to make this a better crossing than what was historically designed.
And I think also a point on the dedicated phase is, we were trying to figure it out amongst ourselves. We don't have, all the information on exactly how the signals are set up currently, but was that, that might require some additional signal heads to basically allow for those turns. So, there would be some small, pretty minimal costs involved, but it still might take time to figure out exactly how that phasing would work. So, we think maybe an LPI could potentially be even like an interim solution until, maybe a more full overhaul of the signal phasing is figured out. But.
Other questions from commissioners for planning development leaders?
Do we know where another intersection is where the button is required?
Pretty much most of them, I think, in Clintonville are required to be pressed, yeah.
Outside of downtown, most are, they call it like a bag button, you have to press it. There are passive ways you can put loops underneath pavement and stuff to detect people crossing, but those have some challenges too. If you go to replace the pavement or just longer term maintenance, they can stop working. They're harder to maintain.
Commissioner Martins?
I also appreciated the work that you did on such short notice and very comprehensive. Strongly in favor of the preferred solution, because even with the pedestrian signal cars, I've cycled the trail, but I also got in my car coming off 350, coming from North Broadway to see what it's like for a driver. In fact, I thought it was scarier as a driver coming off the 315, because you come from low, you cannot see much, there's nothing to slow you down. And even now in the dark, in the winter, it's very difficult to see pedestrians. So I would like to see at all costs that there's a separate phase for cyclists and pedestrians crossing the North Broadway.
If there's no further discussion among commissioners at this point, I think it might be, thinking process-wise, perhaps we hear from the city and then we talk through the resolution and hear public comment. Does that feel comfortable to everyone? Okay. Thank you so much, Jacob. I think we have Brad Westfall from the city. And Kelly, yeah. Welcome.
3 of us.
Wonderful. Thanks for coming tonight.
Absolutely.
Really well done, thank you.
Well, who did all the work?
Well, you all did some work on that. Thanks for allowing some time on your agenda, we appreciate it. And we're here to not only discuss the crosswalk, we're here to discuss the entire project and some of the things that go into it. I see a lot of familiar faces. However, I'm Brad Westall with Recreation and Parks, and you've heard that name from the commissioners here. I was involved from day one in the project. Going back 25 years, I'm old enough to go back that far when this project was not even on the drawing board here. So, and thank you for the history of that. You just saved about 3 minutes. If you wouldn't mind, I'd like to introduce Kelly Messer, our project manager, who's put this whole project on the ground. Without her abilities to manage that contract, to manage what is really a difficult, complicated piece of infrastructure, not just at the crossing, but the whole thing, is going to live, and I think it's a testimony to what the Olentangy Trail deserves. I really do. And Tom Hibbert is here. He is our project engineer from American Structure Point. You have 3 people here. We're happy to answer any question that you have. I'm not going to say much here because these 2 folks really are involved in what is on the ground, what is the active sequence that's going on, how did we get to where we are, what was it like, what did we analyze at Milton, what did we analyze at North Broadway, and what are we looking at Riverside Hospital and places that are connected to that one crosswalk. It isn't just one, it's really a sequence of things going on there. You did an excellent job, Jacob, of really outlining that. Thank you very much. So what I'm going to do, if you don't mind, folks, can we let Kelly and Tom do a little bit of explanation about what's the science really here. They'll take it a little farther than Jacob, maybe, I don't know. And we'll sit down, then we'll talk questions from commission, and residents here. Thanks. You want to take over?
Yeah, I'll start. I'll start with the bigger picture, and then Tom's going to zoom into the specifics more so. So this is my first time actually at the Clintonville Area Commission. Good to see you all. So I want to just first share that thank you for sharing all of your concerns with us. At Rec and Parks, we are avid trail users ourselves. I use the Olentangy Trail all the time, so we know firsthand how important safety is. We all want to feel safe using the trail. So thank you for sharing that. We've read every single one of them, and feel free to keep sharing your thoughts and opinions as we progress through this. So we opened up the trail on Friday, November 14th. We heard almost immediately some feedback from the community, some really good concerns. And so from that day when we opened, we recognized, okay, it's time to revisit this intersection. And I would be remiss to also share if Brad and I, throughout this entire project, weren't concerned about pedestrian safety in terms of, are people going to follow the traffic laws? When things look on paper, sometimes it seems like, okay, if everyone plays their part and follows the law correctly, this will go smoothly. Well, we all know that doesn't really happen. So once we saw how it played out, we wanted to make sure we addressed concerns immediately. So that's when we saw the changeable message boards out at the intersection. We knew that we had to go back to the structure point, meet with the service to figure out a solution. So we wanted to find some quick wins. We felt those message boards was a good start. As mentioned before, we had added some signage to help remind pedestrians that yes, we need to press that button to activate the pedestrian signal. But since then, we've been working feverishly to study some of these changes to the intersection that you mentioned. And I want to also apologize for not reaching back out to you when some of those items were removed from the project, the leading pedestrian interval. As we progressed through phases of design, we learned what was feasible and what wasn't, given the technicalities of the intersection. Tom can explain it better than me, but essentially we have these intersections that are linked, and there's only so much that you can do. So we learned afterwards that the leading pedestrian interval just wouldn't simply work this intersection. But I think that's okay because what we're studying is really aligned with the recommendations that you have shared. So I'm feeling really good about being here today and being able to share what we're looking forward to. So I'm going to allow Tom to kind of walk us through some of the specific changes to the intersection that you'll see here in the next near future.
Okay, thanks, Kelly. And I'll try not to geek out too much on traffic signal talk, but I think again you kind of hit it on the head there. We have essentially in this area the traffic signal that's there at Ohio Health and North Broadway. That's part of the signal system, which 4 signals all linked together, so it's not on an island there. And in order to keep safe traffic operations working there, it's important that we keep all of those sequenced. So essentially, we've got a certain amount of time at that for each cycle of the traffic signal there at the Ohio Health and North Broadway. And it's a matter of splitting up that time and how we split that time up safely and give everybody their portion of it. So what's out there today, we've gone and taken a look at that and how we can improve that further with the pedestrian crossing. And number one, first thing we're working on, we've done our analysis and we're kind of going through finishing up the plan for that, is to extend that walk time that's out there now. So we think we can get about 50% more time on that walk phase. So it'll give people more time to get through. Along with that, we're exploring and pretty sure we can get the audible APS, audible message of the audible signal there on the traffic signals. The button will beep, so people with vision impairments will know that it's there. They'll know that they'll get a walk indication and a don't walk indication. So that's all in process. We're working through that with the city so we can get that implemented. The other big thing we're looking at is the rest of the traffic signal. I think got brought up, especially that left turn coming off and conflict there with people that are not complying with the law. So how do we get better compliance with that movement there? So what we're exploring right now, we're going through that analysis with that signal system to see how we can split up that time. And what we're looking pretty actively at, what we call a split phase. We would change the phasing of that traffic signal that instead of having an overlap of northbound and southbound, basically from Ohio Health and Grant. We would get rid of that. We would allow only southbound to go green for a period of time. So coming off the Grant would be green, they could make all movements. Then they would stop. And then we would turn northbound to green. And that would then allow us to have a pedestrian phase so there's no overlap with that left turn movement. And we think that's going to solve a lot of the problems that we're seeing out there right now. So we're working through that right now. The possibility we may have to restrike the ramp and put some additional signage so that we can, instead of having a single left turn lane, we would take the other lane that today is just right and through. We would make that a right through and a left turn lane. So we have 2 lanes being able to turn left when that light is green for southbound. So that would get traffic through quicker when it's green and they have their green time for the ramp. And during that time, the pedestrian phase would still be red, so they would cross at that point. And that would get that traffic through before the crossing happens. So those are the things we're looking at. We're working through the analysis on that, getting that finalized. That change will likely have to go to ODOT as well, so we'll have to go through that step as well. But at this point, we think we've got an analysis that we're working through that, getting the final plans put together. So I think that's kind of the.
And I'll just add really quickly too. So you had some really great recommendations in your report as well. Since we are rec and parks and we're not public service, we can't really control much of the roadway beyond our project. We are happy to take these recommendations and really encourage our sister department to continue to explore improvements to that corridor, like the lighting and other speed controls, knowing that it's a systemic issue, heavy traffic, high speeds. We know that we can't solve that in just our project alone, but we want to make sure that we're doing everything we can to make the trail safe. But Brad, anything else to share?
No, thank you for good explanations right there. I hope everybody follows what we're sharing out. In real time, this is being studied as quickly as we can. And Tom's team is one of the best in the region. So it's a complicated situation in ways more than might seem when you push a button or you don't or you can't, or motorists are getting used to adapting to that change. Change in behavior is one of the hardest, no matter where that crossing is, no matter what intersections that we have in the Clintonville, German Village, all kinds of neighborhoods that have that situation going on. It's really tough to work in the right of way. And we knew going in that we would have a challenge here. Through practice, we're going to get this. We're going to get this as right as we possibly can, because that is the #1 priority that we have. We really do. And to have that gap finally closed, and to get people off Delhi those who want, we left it there, to get people off Delhi and Olentangy. We've heard from some folks who said that having this opening here now has actually helped. We live along that street, we've heard, and it's taken down some of the density on some of the side streets. We anticipated that, but we weren't sure that was really going to happen. So there are benefits that you wouldn't see on the surface that are kind of just coming forth. We're only in week 3, and really appreciate your understanding about all that. And I will shut up and let anyone here, because I'm sure there's questions and so forth. And we don't want to take all your time and your agenda. We're happy to stick around.
This is a really important topic, and we have ample time at the end, so I don't want to rush this by any means. I think it's a top priority for everybody on the commission, so thank you. We really appreciate the thorough presentation. Yeah, Chica.
I just want to suggest, if you could pull back up the presentation with the map showing the first map with the turning movement. Sorry, not that one actually. The first one of the intersection.
Yeah, I got you.
So if I'm understanding, so then basically what you're suggesting is the red arrow won't happen, only the left, or the yellow arrow showing the right turn. That would still happen because that northbound movement would still be done.
Right.
Okay. Right. I just want to make sure that's clear to everyone what that would look like.
So from that side, there is a little better visibility.
Oh, for sure.
Right there.
Yeah.
So the problem seems to be that south.
I think people take that turn at much slower speeds too, so it's much less of a concern. there would, so you'd still have a interaction there, but I think we totally would see that as a much safer
You're
option.
kind of coming down to the intersection from the Ohio Health side.
Yeah, and you have a lot better visibility. The like, you're saying the 315, like you kind of dip down below. So it's really not until you actually are almost entering the intersection that you really have a clear view, and even then you're still going straight. So it's not really even until you start the turn already that you're even going to notice that there's a trail crossing there. So definitely the left turn is like the most important issue, I think.
And so what I heard is that it will be a double left southbound turn
Potentially, so I need to say, we're still finishing up that
through the
analysis.
ODOT
we gotta
process,
make
yeah, I heard
approvals
that.
and stuff like that, so yeah, I think that's probably the way that would have to go at this point, we would have to go.
I think the important part is the stopping of the pedestrian crossing.
Yeah. So with the red line up here, whether it is the double turn or the single turn, when you're coming off of the freeway there, it's hard to know which lane you're aiming at, because I've seen people go where people were to be turning left, they're not going far enough side, so there needs to be some type of marking on the pavement, whether it's a single lane or a double turn lane there, to really indicate where that lane is that you want them to go to.
And we can look at that as it is now, but I can say definitively, if we did put two lefts there, we would have to do, you can see that dashed line for
Right.
where you're going eastbound to northbound.
Right.
We have a similar thing going in the southbound.
Yes, but even with the single, I think it's needed, since you're going past that little island there, and it's further distance than what you're thinking you need to go.
Who owns the signal, ODOT or the city?
The city.
Okay, that makes it a little easier.
Do we have any sense for how long ODOT's process is for reviewing this?
Well, not really at this point. I mean, I think we're, not talking a year or anything like that. We're talking a matter of maybe a month or so, something to that effect there, I believe. We don't control that process, so that's a little hard for me to, give a definitive answer on that. So, we'll have to get their line on that, because their big thing, of course, is gonna be anything that interferes with that ramp and causes the potential package, back up to 315.
I will add, from a timing standpoint, that we confirmed that public service has the signal we would need in their warehouse. So that would reduce the lead time, typically it's 6 to 8 weeks to get a new signal head. So we would be able to take advantage of that efficiency.
Commissioner Marks, did you have a comment or question?
Question, is there any way there's going to be a no turn on red, either from the south or from the east? So that the Milton crossing right now, because I presume it's really in there because there's lots of cycling traffic. And right turn on red is one of the main causes of pedestrian fatalities.
Yeah.
And
Fair question. Here's what happens. Jacob mentioned that now the pedestrian button activates a no turn on red signal. And Jacob noted correctly, people generally are very, very good about that. They don't take turns on reds. They may creep into the crosswalk a little bit or that. Folks on a general don't. If it's a permanent no turn on red, folks may not obey that and they may do the same behavior. I don't say that because I'm a traffic engineer. That's been demonstrated statistically that one that's activated with pedestrian light or one that's always red there and no turn on reds, they still don't necessarily comply with that. So it's not a perfect solution. But on the other hand, from the traffic flow on westbound North Broadway, that bridge and that right turn lane, I'm going to pass along information that I learned. It's not information that I know about intrinsically. But that right turn lane does not have the stacking that it's supposed to have for the amount of traffic that on the rush morning and evenings hits that light. So pretty soon you're backed up over the North Broadway Bridge. And now I'm waiting 2 or 3 cycles of lights, right? And there are intersections, right? I think we've all seen those around the city of Columbus. That wouldn't be the only one, I'll say in parentheses. But the farther it backs up traffic along that on the no turn on red, the more likely people will be to say, skip this, man, I'm running it. I'm sick and tired. Or bad behavior starts to increase a little bit. I start crowding the walk a little more, and on and on and on. So our traffic engineers study that hard, they thought about it, and they go, no, we can't do permanent turn on red. We'll do pedestrian activated no turn on red. I want you to know the differences in between those and the nuance of like, how well do people respond to that, and will they start stacking up all the way towards High Street? And another problem then starts. And another, we didn't want to get into a situation where the city compounded tried to solve the situation and made another one worse down the road. Does that make sense? I don't want to over-explain it, but thank you, Mark, for asking that. That's a great question.
I want to make sure we have time for public comment and questions and then consideration of the resolution. Do any other commissioners have additional comments or questions at this point? Okay, are there questions or comments from neighbors?
Okay,
Thank you. I mean,
the activated sign for the no right, I like that because I noticed it right away and I'm like, oh, this is good. Because for years I didn't understand why on Gay Street it said, white turn on red when no pedestrian or bicycle present, you could make a turn. No, we didn't ever get that on Milton at Broadway, but I'm like going, that's the same thing. If there is a bicyclist and or pedestrian present, stop. Because if there's no pedestrian, the light's not gonna be lit. So I like that.
for
Thank
those,
you, well said.
for those who aren't frequent flyers, for the minutes, that's Miss Simbra from Orchard Lane. Any other questions or comments from neighbors? Is there interest in entertaining the resolution? So I understand there are changes in the works, but I think it's also important to the commission that we're on the record as being proactive about this topic.
In favor of it.
Okay. Should I read it through first?
Sure.
Clintonville Area Commission resolution on Olentangy Trail crossing safety at West North Broadway. And from a procedural perspective, I just checked the bylaws. We can vote on a resolution same meeting. It's our bylaws changes that need a reading at a first meeting and then a second hearing at the following. So we can go ahead and pass this tonight. Whereas Clintonville Area Commission recognizes Olentangy Trail as a vital community asset for recreation, transportation, and connectivity. Whereas a recent extension of the Olentangy Trail at West North Broadway introduces a new at-grade crossing at high traffic intersection, creating potential conflicts between pedestrians, cyclists, and motor vehicles. And whereas community members and local media have documented significant safety concerns regarding visibility, vehicle speed, absence of design elements originally intended to enhance pedestrian cyclist protection, notes the reports. Whereas original design concept, including leading pedestrian interval to allow pedestrian cyclists to enter the crosswalk before vehicular traffic receives a green signal, thereby improving visibility and reducing crash risk. And whereas the current implementation does not include an LPI and lacks any other critical safety features, critical safety features that prioritize vulnerable road users at this complex crossing. So those are the recitals. Now therefore be it resolved that the CAC urges the city and the Department of Public Service to immediately review and address safety concerns at West North Broadway. The Commission recommends the following design and operations improvements, and these are all what planning and development outlined for us. So separating the trail crossing phase entirely from conflicting vehicle phases with reference. If phase separation is not possible, then the implementation of the LPI, which we're hearing is not particularly feasible. Implementation of speed management techniques such as rumble strips, raised crosswalks, speed tables. Replacing the push buttons with pedestrian and bicycle passive detection methods or dedicated crossing cycles or near side bicycle push buttons. Revising the design and location of existing push buttons to improve utilization. Adding advanced stop bars and signage to increase driver awareness and reduce encroachment into the crosswalk. Including a dynamic or constant no turn on red from Ohio Health Parkway. Enhancing the lighting and sightlines to improve visibility during all times of day. considering long-term multimodal safety and speed management projects for North Parkway near the trail crossing and in Clintonville. And then the commission further requests ongoing monitoring and community engagement. Do commissioners have suggested changes to the resolution as it's written by Candy?
Can I ask one more question?
We can have all
Is complete separation not an option due to the timing?
Complete like a separate pedestrian crossing by itself, due to the timing, that would not be feasible.
You mean like all vehicles have red light in the trail?
Whatever that first recommendation is.
the most, yeah.
So that there would be
There
no,
could still be some movements, like I think Jacob had on the slide there,
This
that,
one.
yeah, looked at that, and that would not be feasible.
Okay.
Feasible, I guess my question, if I'm allowed to ask a question, feasible from a traffic flow standpoint or
From a traffic flow
because of the traffic signal?
Because of
The signal coordination?
sequencing with the signals, it would throw the signals out of sequence, so thank you for the correction, yeah, that's what that.
I just want to make sure there's no,
You could always
guess-
do it, it would just. throw
right,
it.
you would have to do a full,
Yeah.
changing of the signal coordination along North Broadway there, which is possible, but obviously that also leads to ODOT and their own level of service or, traffic congestion coordination, which is a whole nother thing. But, I think, if we planning development, if we have further conversations about this, maybe a long-term solution would be a full separation. But I think it sounds like this is the best option for, a near-term solution.
but since it is a possible long-term solution, we should leave that in place.
I think we leave our pie in the sky,
Yep.
what we think is the safest for our neighborhood in the resolution. Any other questions or comments or suggested changes to the resolution from commissioners?
After the presentation, do we want to do anything about the double turn coming off of 315? Or no?
When you mean to say do anything, do you mean like,
Right.
add an addendum? Oh, we can add.
I would love to add that with the striking.
How would you like to phrase it?
I don't know.
So the concern is around making sure that the double left southbound off of 315.
Yes, the potential double left turn
that it would
from
be better.
southbound 315, that the lanes, traffic lanes be marked.
Encourage,
Maybe we can ask our guests the
Yeah,
best phrase.
The best.
Best
Correct
phrase in
correct
there. I
traffic
don't know.
I was
engineering.
gonna say, if
Yeah.
I may possibly.
Yeah, of
So
course.
would you be asking for pavement markings to help guide the left turn,
I love that, yes.
what is it? I'm sorry, miss.
pavement markings? to
Pavement
help
markings,
guide
pavement
left turn?
To help guide the left turn movement.
Install and apply, what's the verb? Apply. Apply pavement markings to potential, additional southbound left lane exiting.
Potential, because it's very useful now to.
I think whether it's a double turn or even a current single turn, if we need.
Apply pavement markings to
Yeah.
southbound
So looking at it in
left lanes exiting 315 south. Whether there is one or two, whether,
it's a single double.
And
Whether-
I feel like we can follow up with kind of description of what we explained to them, if that's helpful.
I'd also say, you guys haven't necessarily settled on that being
Right.
the
Right.
solution, so, it could be something that, if that ends up being the solution, could be something that we could maybe pass an addendum at a later time to.
I still want the pavement marking now, whether it's a single, whether it stays a single lane or not. Yeah, just that, apply pavement marking to the southbound.
however there are.
Yep. Thank you.
Are there any additional public comments or questions before Stacy prepares to vote on the resolution? Is there a motion to approve the resolution?
So moved.
All right, we'll go ahead and do a voice vote. Commissioner Moritz,
Yes.
Commissioner Higley,
Yes.
Commissioner Latta,
Yes.
Commissioner Lee Osborne,
Yes.
Commissioner Wyman,
Yes.
and I will also vote yes. So unanimously passed. Thank you to the Planning and Development Committee for creating this presentation and this resolution. We will get this over to the city for filing. And thank you all for being here and for working to meet us and help keep our neighbors safe. We appreciate the due diligence and look forward to updates. We would love to hear as the process moves forward with ODOT, whether that's through our liaisons with this, but we would love to hear more at future CAC meetings. Thank you so much.
Commissioner Holden, may I spend 30 seconds just to give a general update on Olentangy Trail?
We'd love that.
Great. So for those of you who are Olentangy Trail users, I'm really excited to share that next year we're going to be doing some resurfacing of some of the worst sections of the Olentangy Trail. We were able to leverage some capital funds with ODOT federal funding to expand the limits of what we'd be able to improve. So just rattling them off: section near Antrim, near Tuttle Park, near the OSU wetlands, and then closer to downtown from 5th to essentially Goodale. And then we're gonna hit up some areas where we go past the confluence and then we're along Scioto. I can follow up with some specifics, but we're gonna have to have an open public comment period because we do have federal funding with these resurfacing. But it'll feel great. It'll be good. So I wanted to end it on a high note for you all after we talk through this project. So just wanted to give that quick shout out.
Commissioner Wyman has a question, I think.
Has there been any thought of bridge into Kenny Park at Graceland?
Yes.
Beyond the thought.
Anybody that goes beyond that word, yes, thought, watch out. That's the famous Morse Bethel connector. Anybody here been around long enough to remember that great old idea? Yeah, well, and it's not. Ironically, that was a roadway crossing to connect Morse Road and Bethel Road. And that went down, I'll just be candid with you, that went down in flames. People did not want that connection, and I mean everybody did not want that connection. So we proposed a Kenny pedestrian bridge. That didn't go over too well. I don't know if Clintonville Area Commission extends that far north. To Kenny? Does it? Yeah. Well, I don't know if your commission at that point was in favor of that or not. Long story short, that's the Broad Meadows Bridge today, is what was going to be farther north in Kenny Park, or farther south, I should say, into Kenny Park. So today you go over Broad Meadows, you go under the tunnel if you're going on Bethel Road, and so on and so forth. Still a great idea, still a good thing for a city to have, still a huge amount of users that would use a bridge like that. I'm a supporter of it, but it's a very, very difficult thing for people who live in those areas that really would want that. Wasn't a big favorite. I over-answered your question, but thank you for asking it.
Any follow-up, Commissioner Wyman?
No, that's fine.
Thank you very much for being here. We
Thank
appreciate
you.
it.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you very much, Jacob.
Thank you.
Just be at ease for me. It's just coming. Alright, the next item on our agenda, we are running a little bit behind, but we had additional time on this evening's agenda, is the Columbus growth strategy discussion. To recap, we had a special meeting Monday of Thanksgiving week to try to meet a November 30th deadline to provide public comment on the Columbus growth strategy. The Columbus growth strategy is a 51-page document that references various land use maps that are in the process of being updated, involves the zoning process. It was sent to us on October 30th. by the city with a request for area commission comment by November 30th. We had a meeting last month that following week. We felt like we didn't have enough time to engage community and get meaningful feedback on the document and review it ourselves. So we asked if we could defer that conversation to this meeting. We were told no. We had to respond by November 30th if we wanted to be considered as part of the legislation, any of our comments. So we held a special meeting, and we determined at the special meeting, we haven't done meaningful public engagement on this. We haven't been able to. The special meeting notice was within public meeting notice laws, but it was a quick turnaround. And we had low attendance in person at that meeting. So we decided rather than rush forward comments, we would offer, rather than saying no on the Columbus growth strategy, we would just say we politely essentially refuse to endorse it at this time. Because it was noted by the city that if we didn't provide comment, that it would be assumed we supported it. Many of us took issue with that as the process. This afternoon, I received an alert from the city that we now have through December 31st. I got that late this afternoon. I personally was in my office, I printed it off, I read through the first half. I did not get through the full document candidly. I would guess that the full commission has not had the opportunity to do that this quickly. So we have two options. We can't, well, three. We could try to get through a conversation tonight, put together comments, get them out the door. We could just not provide comments and our support will be assumed. Or we could hold another special meeting in December amidst all the holidays, which I really don't want to do, but I don't know how to get around. So I'd love to hear commissioner thoughts and feedback on those options, or if you know of a magical one that I haven't discovered.
Does the letter be composed Thanksgiving week? Could that just be our response?
Yes, but it would mean that our response was, we don't like this process and we're not providing any meaningful comments. I think that relying on that letter, I think it does a disservice to what we could potentially do.
We need to provide comment, whether it's tonight or equally a special meeting.
Commissioner Wyman, you're looking like you got thoughts.
Yeah, I still don't like the plan, so I'm still a no on plan. So
And
if we want to write a letter that says no, I would be fine with that.
And I can't do that. I'm not comfortable with a solid no. But I think nuanced comments. I think we could build consensus around comments. Commissioners Moritz or I agree.
And so there's some concerns about how these things work out in practice, but in general, I'm comfortable with the plan. Of course, the question is what happens when the rubber hits the road. And one of my concerns with zoning has been what's happened to, I don't worry about density, but I'm worrying about what happens to local businesses. No offense, will all be Pizza Hut and Five Guys, or it will be local businesses and locally owned businesses. So one way is to ask for more input, or ask the city to explain how we can have more input in how these things will, how zoning will be implemented, or what our options are for making sure that it preserves the character, maintains the character of Clintonville as well as the canopy and stuff.
I agree with Commissioner Moritz 100%. Are they planning an edit to this, or are they just soliciting a yes or a no?
They're inviting comments, so like specific comments rather than just a yes or a no. I think other commissions have drafted letters that refer to specific provisions. I will note some of the concerns that came up both among commissioners and among neighbors have been around tree canopy protection. So I did go through and look, there are 3 different references to preserving parks, wetlands, trees, reflecting the urban master forestry plan. I think that some of our concerns are reflected within here, we just haven't processed it and received community feedback. I also still feel a little bit confused as to why this needs to exist separate and apart from zone in. It seems like it's a guiding document. It says these are recommendations and not code. These elements are used to guide community and city review of rezoning and variance applications. But when I reached out to city council, they said there would be a hearing on the growth strategy as legislation.
Like Monday.
Yeah, this upcoming Monday would be the first hearing and the following would be the second. So I haven't had a chance yet to confirm whether that will be delayed in order to, I would assume that will be delayed if our comment period has been extended. But so it seems as though it will be legislation, even though zone-in is also legislation.
In our November meeting, we asked the questions to the city that, will the Clintonville area plan still be valid? And they responded and said yes. And then we asked if we would, as a commission and as a community, have input into variances still, zoning variances. The zone-in on High Street eliminates a lot of zoning variances just for certain heights and that thing, but if you go above that, then that would be a variance. And they responded that yes, you would still have a say, and the public would have a say in those types of variances. So that was good to hear, but it wasn't quite clear in that document that that was, in fact,
I read that differently. I took it differently that yes, that if the topic was not in the growth strategy, then the neighborhood plan would be the rule. But if it was in both, then the growth strategy plan is what's going to be taking precedence. Yes. And that's where I have the concern in the sense, and I'm going to use one example, for Board Park. Neighborhood plan was done, and then they were redoing the equipment and the fencing. And they were starting with the chain link fence. And that's where people who were watching this meeting at that time said, hold on, if you look at the neighborhood plan, chain link fence isn't allowed on these projects. It has to be wrought iron or the PVC type look of wrought iron. And so we got the city to stop at that point in time, but they didn't have the funding. So that's where Clintonville Rotary was a new club at that point in time, and we came in and we paid for the fencing, but we stopped the chain link fence. But then at the same time, going up High Street, just south or on the east side at Overbrook, you have the chain link fence, and that was installed kind of redone at the same time, but we didn't catch that one. So while we have this neighborhood plan, it's not always followed. You know, the Huntington Bank light on Indianola is not compliant with the signage part in the Clintonville neighborhood plan, but it was installed anyhow. So I don't know if anyone's paying attention to the neighborhood plan, because it's kind of a dated document, but there are certain things in there more on the aesthetics of Clintonville that I'm concerned that we're gonna miss if we just blanket this with a yes. And I would bring up, I would say, German Village in their questioning right now of kind of some of the sidewalks and curbs and things like that. And then I also bring up what was happening with, in your area where you go from granite curbs to concrete curbs now, then you have half and half on the street. So, you know, are we willing to live with that, or do we want to be a roadblock on that to get the aesthetics to stay?
And you brought up the funding around the fencing running out. Another point here is that the strategy, it says the Columbus growth strategy is, and it lists out various bullets, and one of the bullets is used as a guide for city investment. That is so broad to me And I feel like we have struggled with how we advocate for our neighborhood in city budgeting processes and meeting timelines and having special meetings and those conversations too, and making sure we're talking about the right funds for the right projects. And that's just a really broad statement to me as well that raises a bit of a red flag. Do we want to schedule a separate meeting so that we can do this justice?
Just one other comment regarding the concern about the tree canopy, which I'm all for tree canopy. The city does have a tree master plan and policy for trees, but that is only for public trees in parks and within the right of way. And I know in my profession, I have to deal with that all the time, and we have to replace all the trees that are removed for whatever project, inch by inch. But we don't have any kind of a policy for private property. The city of Dublin does. I worked on a project there where we took out a bunch of trees in a hospital parking lot, and we had to replace them somewhere. And on private property, and we were held to it. We wouldn't get our building permits at all if we didn't do that. So I would be interested in seeing that implemented citywide, but how does that affect a homeowner who might be of limited means and have, the tree policy in Dublin does not affect dead or dying or invasive species. So if that's in your property, you can cut that down without replacing it. But if you have a tree that you just want to cut down, you have to replace it. So in general, I'd be in for that kind of plan. So, but I don't quite understand how that is tied into the homeless growth strategy. Is there a specific thing in there about tree canopy?
Yeah, a couple spots.
Okay.
There's they reference specifically the urban forestry master plan on page 20.
Yeah, that's for city.
But right, and so the component that you're talking about, private residences, is not addressed in here that I've seen. We'll discuss that.
I received an email from a constituent, and they're concerned, they try to get the private tree plan through, and they kind of get pushback from the city council on that. From a particular council.
Would we be open to considering a recommendation where, let's say the topic is in both documents, that is a pause where it doesn't take precedence over the neighborhood plan, that they have to come back to this body or something? I mean, so if it's not in both documents, then I think we're pretty much on board with this growth strategy. But if it goes up against the neighborhood plan, we want one more opportunity for conversation to say, okay, do we want to update the neighborhood plan or in the growth strategy recommendation? That's my only roadblock on this, is that, just historically, we've spent so many years on that neighborhood plan. And part of it is outdated, but there are still good things in there that do protect the vibe of Clintonville.
And we talked at our special meeting about updating it, because I know there was an update 2018 or 19 was the most recent one, I think, but we talked about having another update. I do think that Commissioner Lee Osborne's point would catch a lot of our concerns. If our comment was, we want an opportunity for neighborhoods to engage when there is conflict between a project plan and a neighborhood plan. I think that would catch, I'm looking at Commissioner Wyman because you're the strongest, most vocal no, to see whether that helps with some of your concerns.
I mean, yeah, that helps because this plan throws out all the area.
Yeah.
This takes precedence over
Right.
everything. So if you want to word it something like that, that would be fine. You preserve the area plans and the absence of, because that's what they're doing. They say there's 40 area plans and 2 areas don't have a plan. So we're going to throw out 40 area plans because 2 areas don't have a plan. It's ridiculous.
So, Clintonville area, I'm workshopping. I really love editing live in real time in front of a public audience. It's my favorite pastime.
On video.
Yeah, on video. for the whole internet to focus fingers. So Clintonville Area Commission, requests that the city planning department and related departments, that's dumb, consult neighborhood. How do
We just want them to come back to the area commission if the two documents are in
we, in
conflict.
return to, area commissions, if and when, local neighborhood plans are in conflict with Columbus growth strategy provisions. And we, give me 1 second.
That's okay.
And I think have full public engagement on the topic, you know, just not for them to come and have a meeting with us, but to be able to, we've got to vet the public on what we want to do. You know, the criticism we've had is that we're trying
To rush.
well, one was the rush, but that also we're critiqued as being difficult because we want to not play along and just rubber stamp this, but, you know,
Yeah.
not every a neighborhood has the same desires and nuances and everything else, and I think that we need to be true to what makes Clintonville cool and protect it to a certain degree as much as we can without hindering growth.
I would put Clintonville Area Commission requests that the city planning department shall
Ooh,
Yes.
not in. is.
not may.
Yes.
Here's that lobbying.
May
background.
shall.
Any other commissioner comments? Ms. Simbrell?
You almost covered it. Quick history lesson, the area commissions were formed because the Clintonville Area Residents Association, CARA, stopped, they said, the city can no longer bully us, and they went to bat. Right now, the city is trying really hard to bully you into doing what they want you to do. So it's not a request. They work for you, you don't work for them. You're volunteers, remember? The people that are reading this letter get a paycheck by your tax dollars. Therefore, we don't request it. We require that they shall consult.
I can make it stronger. If other commissioners want to feel
The
strong, they want to feel.
developers have been bullying us for
Okay, I can change that word. They might argue whether we have the ability to require them to do anything, but I hear you,
Okay. Remind them.
It might also be good to tell them they should give you more than 4 hours and 44 minutes of notice if they want public comment on a 50-page document. That's what they did. They gave you 4 hours and 44 minutes of notice. And they did that on the previous meeting too, because they didn't take into consideration of when the schedules were. And if they had told you this initially that you had figured out, that'd be different. I think 4 hours and 44 minutes should be in your comment. They should, that the city council should know that that's what the Department of Neighborhoods or whoever did this to you. Yeah.
Whoever did this to me.
And even this extension gives.
Yeah. That's not an extension, that's 4 hours and 44 minutes. It's before our meeting.
We have to make that just a little.
You wanna get it meaner?
sentence. Area commissions, take out if and. The top paragraph, sorry.
Hold on. Where's it? Oh, first sentence.
Second, yeah.
Ah. Because we know it will happen.
So what do we mean by meaningful public engagement? What do we want? Do we want a public meeting? Do we want, what do we want?
I left that intentionally broad because I want us to have the latitude to determine what feels right for the situation. So, you know, if it's like, for example, Reward Park,
Right.
perhaps that means we have a community meeting in that district. And that feels meaningful to those neighbors and those residents. Something big like the trail connector or something more broad, we have a special meeting for the whole area commission. I think if we could right size it for the size and scope of the meeting.
Right.
Is there any additional public comment on this process and or our response? I am planning to send this tonight. We could vote on it. We could vote on it. It feels funny, we're just voting on the email language, but I can throw it on there. All those in favor of sharing this statement that I will post to CAC public meeting channel. Is there additional public comment? I'm seeing heads. Okay. So this is the public statement CAC will make to the city and post to our website and Facebook channels. All those in favor, aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. All right, thank you to the area commission for, thank you to all of you for putting so much thought into this. 8:27, we still need to get through our zoning agenda, and we have a presentation from the Ohio State School for the Deaf and the Blind. Is that welcome? Thank you for joining us this evening.
Thank you.
Dr. Manus and Mr. Ramsey?
Yes.
Sorry. Wonderful. Did you have slides I need to pull up?
No slides.
Okay.
Just I'll be quick. I won't take the whole 20 minutes. My name
Yeah,
is-
and I apologize, in hindsight, we probably should have
Yeah,
pushed this up a
I'm
little
sorry.
bit.
Thank you for sitting through.
Thanks for saying that.
We'll be quick. I'm Danny Ramsey. I'm with the Ohio State School for the Deaf and Blind. That's our superintendent, Dr. Lou Manus. I just wanted to share some of the projects that we have going on campus. If you know, we have two separate campuses. One on one off Morris Road. That's the one that everyone knows. There's also another one that's off of High Street. It's kind of hidden in the back. You'll see a drive that says School for the Blind. But there's another campus back there that's absolutely beautiful. I wanted to share some of the projects that we have going on campus. So right now we are, I don't know if you know this, but the schools were built in 1953, I believe was the exact year. So we have some old buildings around campus that we are currently, old dorms that we're demoing. I think back in 2014, they did some renovations and we added some new dorms. So now these old dorms are just sitting there. So we're in the process of demoing those dorms. So you may just see dump trucks coming in and out in the next few weeks. That's going to start shortly on the Blind School campus. We're also in the process of renovating our natatorium. We have done a good job. Well, Dr. Manus has been our leader who is trying to connect the two campuses. So, and that really helps us as far as efficiency and your tax dollars. So one of the things that on the deaf school campus, the one that you may or may not see this, but we're actually renovating a section of the campus that we have a early learning center, early learning service for preschool. So we're renovating this section for our preschoolers, and that all of these schedules will start over the next few months. So you will see more activity around this area in a short time. And then we also have, which the thing that you probably heard about the most, is we're in the process of building or constructing a bridge. We call it a connector that connects the two campuses. We know that this is happening over a conservation easement. We're aware of that. We will be working with Friends of the Lower Olentangy. We're also working with the Franklin County Soil and Water Conservation. So we are just in the beginning phases. When I say beginning, I mean we haven't started. That's what I know some of you may have heard, like they've done some surveying on the property just to see, to check the soil, to make sure everything is okay there, but that is the extent. The project design is supposed to start in January, and it will run through March or April. So that's kind of just like an overview, and it's just, I don't know, I guess let me give you the why behind the bridge. I think that that's very important. Part of that is the connection between the two campuses. They were separate for many years. Now we're trying to bridge that gap and make it one unit. But the most important thing is safety for our students. We've had students, we're trying to utilize the natatorium from both schools, and we're trying to do different things for both schools. And we've had students use the track, for example, at the blind school. They were coming from the deaf school, coming down Indianola, the student was hit coming down Indianola. So that kind of sparked everything for us. We would, I can only imagine trying to tell a parent that the child was hit, trying to do some kind of extracurricular activity. So the bridge will kind of be that gateway between those two. Again, we're a long ways off. We hope that it will be something that adds to the community and not subtract. So that's kind of the gist of it. I don't know if Dr. Manis is going to say anything.
Sure. Good evening. I'll just share with you briefly. We have about 300 students, 150 deaf and hard of hearing, around 150 blind and low vision. We also have deaf blind children. We have multiply involved children. About 30% are in wheelchairs. We have some kids on feeding tubes. In addition to the student who was hit by a car, we did this past year have one of our teenage students who was blind, actually using a cane, to be battered by an individual going up High Street. And so being able to get the kids from one campus to the other, we have 244 acres, and to do this in a way that is as little as possible of disrupting the property. And again, we have one auditorium on one campus. We have the pool on one campus. We have a lot of the amenities to be able to get them back and forth. The governor came out and visited us, and that was one of the things that was really important to him, was that so our kids didn't have to go off campus, especially with the challenges that they have. And so we are welcome to come back at another time. We can show some of the details as we move forward. But we've just done some surveying. We definitely want to be partners with the community. The demoing of the dorms, there's going to be trucks going in and out. That's going to be a little messy. But I had legislators coming in and saying, why aren't these buildings gone? And so we took that on. But we're available to talk to you and share whatever you'd like to learn about.
Well, I appreciate so much that you've been so proactive about coming this early stage. It's not often that projects do that, and we really appreciate that, and would welcome you back with renderings or at any point to talk about construction processes. Do other commissioners have questions or comments?
Thanks for coming in.
Mr. Platt has
Welcome to come visit too, whenever Josh has been out.
Yeah.
Anytime you want to come out. It's-
I just wanted to thank you both for it's a wonderful school. Can't say more great things about it. So I just appreciate the work you all do and your staff and everyone else. So it's a great attribute to our community. And so I thank you all for it. So thank you.
We have put in for a multi-use path on Indianola, but it'll be across the street. It doesn't help you, but we have them try to do that. Does anyone, do they still cut your fence line to go birding or whatever it is in the back of the property?
We maintain and take care of the fence line. I know some of the friends of Lauren on the Tangy actually do like I'm not gonna use the correct word, but you'll know what I'm saying.
Pollinator garden?
Thank you so much. Thank you. I was not gonna say that, so I appreciate your help.
Native plants over there?
Yes, so that's pretty much the extent of it, but we maintain that area back there.
I have the wonderful easement, and I just want to point out that you guys already violated it by drilling on the land without the approval of St. Franklin County Soil and Water Conservation.
Well, I will be honest, I didn't know drilling actually happened at this point. I know they've done some testing, so we will be in touch when we get going.
Why not go around the easement instead of going directly through it and building what would probably be a multi-million-dollar bridge?
So in full disclosure, part of this is us learning what's the best route, what's the best process. We don't know yet. So we will know, and we can answer that question once we get farther along in the design. I know that there was plans years ago and to actually go over the easement. So that's where the concept started. But our engineers that we have hired, they've talked about a path that goes around, they've talked about the path that goes through. We know the shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line, so that's also a thought process.
You know, I think earlier it is mentioned that, you know, we care about the tree canopy, right? And this is a pretty big section of wild area that is protected within our community. And I think that you guys have the land to kind of easily go around or go on the edges versus going directly through the center, disrupting all of the wildlife.
I can respond to that. So first of all, easily is not in this whole concept, believe me. And when we think about cost, you know, the Department of Administrative Services really owns us, right? I don't get to do anything without their approval, support, and I can tell you, they're going to want us to do what is the most efficient. Now, the architects and engineers are going to advise as we get through, as we move forward. If there certainly is a way that we could go around, it would probably quadruple the cost.
And I don't want to, this is a really important conversation, but I don't want to run out of time for our zoning request that's before us tonight. So you're welcome to stick around. You're welcome to come back. But I want to make sure we get through our zoning request too.
We will definitely come back.
Thank you for being proactive, and thank you to the neighbors who showed up and shared that information as well. Great. Chairman Hardwick.
May I just suggest that you go out of order and do Midgard first?
Absolutely.
Because that one is famous last words, but that seems, I've not had any opposition, and it's something that I've never seen the commission vote against a variance like this. It's PZ 25-136-3042 Midgard. They want to construct an addition to a detached garage with above storage space. They want to increase from 15 to 18 feet and from 748 square feet to 768 square feet. These are tiny variances. They're not asking for habitable space. They're not asking for a different residence. We have no opposition. So speak up, and if you, I don't know if the applicant is here, if you have a question.
She was early. She's been the most patient. She watched me like parent all my kids for half an hour before this meeting started. So.
And I know it may be, if the commission thinks that it needs to have additional information, they can go through its normal process, or you could decide to see if there's public comment in that.
Would the applicant like to share anything additional about the project?
Yeah, it's straightforward. It's just the homeowner, we want them to be able to utilize their property, keep it clean. The addition would allow more storage space in the garage, and with that, it's a little high, yes, but it's not going to take away from the home itself. It's going to be in the back. We're not going to cut down any trees. We're not going to have to change anything about the surroundings. That'll just be a little more storage space.
Questions or comments from commissioners? Question or comments from neighbors? All right, we'll go ahead and do voice vote. Commissioner Moritz?
Yes.
Commissioner Hively?
Yep.
Commissioner Latta?
Yes.
Commissioner Lee Osborne? Yes. Commissioner Wyman?
Yes.
I too will vote yes. Congratulations on your project, and thank you for your patience.
Yeah. Thank you.
Alice. The Clintonville Pediatric Dentistry variance, BZA 25132 at 40, they want to move to 4255 North High. This is a lot that's just north of the complex with Jenny's and North Star in it. This is a zone in covered variance. They want to reduce the building form, to reduce the first floor ceiling height. There's only one floor to the building, from 12 feet to 8 feet 10 inches. The facade, they want to reduce the ground floor facade transparency to 60, 43%, and the building entries, they want to put, they don't want to put the entry on the front side of the building. The committee voted 5-0 for the building for the first floor ceiling height. That was mainly because that's the way the building is now, and she just wants to make it work for a dentist office in this retail space, and I think she knows better than we do about what she needs to make a dentist what a children's dentist office works. The facade, the other two variances were approved by votes of 3-2. The facade to reduce the ground, they were designed mainly to make it function better as a dentist office. They wanted to have more, they didn't want to have windows on, as many windows on the front for the waiting room, so there was more privacy for the people waiting for it. And they do have children in there. They would, it's a children's dentist, and they have had a kid run out their front doors racing towards High Street. They also serve a number of, they also are very good at helping kids with sensory issues and autism, who may not have as much control over, who may be more likely to want to do something like that. There is a bigger discussion to have someday about doors on High Street. This does go against that principle, but and the problem is when we've required it, and they don't want it, that they just put a fake door. They put a door that's effectively a fake. It's a real door, I guess, but it's not used, so it's effectively a fake door. How much the city probably should think about what the value of that is. I think the committee members who are opposed thought that is an important reason, and that they wanted to see more information on why it was absolutely needed to put a front door, put the door in the back instead of towards High Street. And I think they have a PowerPoint presentation that no one wrote that time. So.
Yeah, I know we're running out. I think Stephen hit most of what we had discussed. And our kind of plan is that everybody parks in the back, and so currently there's like a drive-through area that's going to be demoed, but we're going to essentially make where that is our entrance, so that as parents aren't coming back, they're not walking back all the way around the building, because as it's laid out, cars are going to be coming in that direction. So we wanted a backdoor entrance where we're just not having patients going one way, cars going the other. And like Stephen mentioned, we did have a patient run out into High Street and narrowly get missed. Thank goodness nothing worse happened, but as he mentioned, we see a lot of kiddos with special needs who may become dysregulated and not be able to control themselves when they are in that state, and that was the exact scenario that had been there. And so if I can avoid having another incident where a kid can, narrowly miss being hit by a car, that would be preferable to me, to just maintain the door on the back and not have an escape on the front.
My understanding of the door on the front is that that's more for retail foot traffic type of establishments. That was the intention. This is a very different use to me.
That was one of my things too, is a lot of the zoning things did seem like they were set more up for like retail, commercial. And while I respect all of that, I do think I'm a very different type of business in that I'm a dental provider, a medical provider, specifically working with kids. And kind of to that point, I think a lot of these things were, created for, big contractors, and that is not who I am. And so I think, a little bit of consideration there would be helpful.
I forgot that. What was she also explained her waiting? This will allow her to serve more patients. Right now, she said if you called in with the new patient, it was in June of
It's, yeah, we're in book, if you call, yeah, with new patients, we don't have openings till June. So we're adding more space. We're doubling the size so I can add another provider so we can see more kids.
So another thing that I think kind of is important to point out, my name is Troy. I own a design build firm that caters to dentists in the Central Ohio location. So we did her first office 7 years ago. She's asked us to help her increase her ability to provide back to the Clintonville children. And so I do nothing but design and build dental offices. And part of the layout design of this is that we want to separate business waiting room from clinical area, which is why our clinical kind of goes down the long. If you flip, I think it might be the next 2 slides, maybe, there's kind of a floor plan. So you can kind of see that the addition is the portion to the left that's more square, and the existing buildings to the right that's the more rectangular part.
This is High Street on this side.
Correct, yeah. So you can see we've got windows all across the front except for that area that's marked business, which is kind of that middle portion. So, yeah, as I said, do you mind if I come up and point?
Please.
Okay.
I'm sorry to make y'all feel rushed.
I know.
Yeah, I feel like I'm talking fast.
No,
but,
you're doing great.
I want to be respectful
Great.
of everyone's time. So, basically, this is a business area, and it doesn't. This is a window. This is a window, and this is a window. So we feel like we've done as much window as we can, but with people checking in here and checking out here, and they've got their computers here, it's kind of a flirting with HIPAA violations with foot traffic if we were to open this up for a window. The other thing that we've done is we've fully come up here to the right of way, so there's really no other place to put any sort of signage on this building, which is obviously going to be important to the business. So if you flip back to those slides, we've actually, and I know the concern is we don't want to see a big face of brick that is boring, and so our thought was that ends up being a perfect place to put a logo and a sign so people know where to find her. And I feel it's kind of important going back to and I think this is less of a conflict, but the ceiling heights. There has been some new code changes that came out, and Dr. Gray is going to be the first pediatric dentist that's going to meet the new Category 1 facilities, which requires a $100,000 generator, which I surprised her with after she ended up asking me to be a part of the project. So she was already shocked by learning that since she built her first practice, now we have new code, and it's going to cost her another $100,000. But she's going to be one of the first pediatric that I'm aware of, and I probably do about 90% of every dental office in Franklin and all the surrounding counties. She'll be the first Category 1 that I'm aware of in Franklin County, but that comes with some additional expenses. But I believe the logo kind of fills up that void and makes that a little more aesthetically pleasing.
Where does the generator go?
The generator is going to go around back. See back there? See over here where there's like a gates here? So we're going to tuck it back in there, and the idea was you guys allowed, we were going to use similar screening to the space to the south of us, which is like kind of a steel slack graded. So that's just kind of a rendering showing what the same thing that the elevation showed. So there are different ways that you could lay out this floor plan, but I think it is very important to kind of, in dental world, to separate clinical from business. So this was the most ideal layout.
I'm prepared to vote on the variances together, unless commissioners want to separate them like the committee did. Are there additional questions?
Yeah.
Commissioner Moritz, yeah?
So the zoning and variance committee, there was also discussion of the curb cut. So now there's an entrance for cars from High Street, and there was a discussion of closing that.
We did reach out to the city, and they mentioned that while that is a possibility, there was a possibility then that there were gonna be more variances that we were gonna have to ask for in order for that to happen. And so it seemed like from the standpoint of like, I kind of need this project to get moving and to think about that curb cut, and adding, it did add more cost too when we looked at it. We have looked at, because I know you brought that up at the last meeting.
We did look at it. We tried to look at it from a half glass full perspective of what do we gain, and it's like, oh, we gain a parking spot, but we also lose, egress and into the site. So we look at it as a kind of a net loss with additional cost. So it is possible to do that. I just don't know that it's.
Wait, I'm sorry, where is this curve?
The entrance is, yep.
That side.
That side, yeah.
You got it, yeah.
So
it's like if I'm traveling
This is
on
High
High
Street.
Street, there won't be a curb cut, there'll be a curb?
There is presently a curb cut, and what Commissioner Moritz had suggested at the last meeting was perhaps just eliminating the curb cut. And so I'm saying, we had looked into that and decided that that wasn't our best route.
So you're keeping the curb cut?
Yes. That is the intention.
So for someone in a wheelchair would be able to use that curb cut and not have to bounce up onto the sidewalk?
No, that's a driveway.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah,
driveway,
it's-
so this would be for vehicle
It's-
access
it's-
from High Street onto the site.
It is what is existing already there. So you know where that like abandoned Blue Sky Gallery is, that like I think everybody can't miss? I'm immediately south of that, and there's
The
existing.
insurance company was?
Yes, that's our building now.
But it'd be helpful to have the Google Earth. I have it up on my computer if it's easy to.
It'll take forever to connect.
But we are they're widening the sidewalks as well. So in the repaving, I assume they're gonna do whatever has to be done code wise.
Some things have to be brought up to code to meet ADA slope requirements and whatnot, but.
So would it be possible to, so if there's, of course, I don't know the technical language, but one of the problems is that it goes down, the sidewalk goes down and goes up again. Is it possible to make it all the way straight? It doesn't go down, it's easy for people with wheelchairs. And cars just have to go over the hump. It's become less of an entrance for cars. Because one of the issues is you mentioned the security for the safety of your patients.
Right.
So cars will be driving very close by the entrance. If they enter the parking lot through here.
So the entry is actually tucked around, so this
On the
is,
backside.
this is the existing building, the addition will be out to here, leaving the minimum 17-foot drive aisle requirement. This gets torn off and it goes away, and the entry is tucked around.
So you are removing a portion of the driveway apron?
Yeah.
Because otherwise you'd be driving into the building.
Correct, yeah. The parking gets eliminated, not necessarily.
Yeah, so we're the parking.
Correct.
This-
The apron
this-
is, the
this.
apron is just wide.
Yeah,
shortened it.
yeah, and actually these are parking
Yes.
spots now, but yes, the building's actually gonna come out to here, and that's where traffic will still be allowed, and then the entry into the building is kind of tucked around.
You ever think of getting rid of the billboard?
We're not allowed.
I cannot, it's
So,
leased out,
where
and so I
you're-
can't get rid of
You're
it.
getting rid of this apron where it comes up.
I did,
the
I did
driveway.
suggest that.
There won't be a curb cut then?
Say that again, where we're eliminating what?
There will be a curb cut, where will remain in this section.
Yes.
So then you'll be able to drive all the way through.
Yes.
So I'm talking about going south on the, or north, on the sidewalk. I'm not really concerned about cars pulling.
Right here.
Oh, yeah, wherever that, yeah.
That's what Commissioner Morris was saying, that there could be a level area, even with the sidewalk, so that the apron coming up from High Street is, but we're getting into design issues here more than.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure.
I don't know that
People don't have trouble.
I can't.
maneuvering.
I realize that this is not part of the variance, but in terms of the neighborhood and pedestrian safety, and also the safety in terms of drivers, because there are lots of accidents on Dealand and on High Street. It would be better if cars come around the back, because it would all be even in terms of the crosswalk or the sidewalk. So there's no curb cut, there's no cars going through, because there's lots of traffic with the restaurants next door.
I mean, I'm not trying to argue, but perhaps having this as a place where we're not then funneling more traffic down Deland or down Cook eliminates some of that inward traffic there, because otherwise it's more, all my patients are then coming down those same and going down that alley to get it in the back. So I almost feel like leaving that little bit of curb cut at least directs the patients this flow.
So they're not so worried about the traffic as the traffic crashes. The traffic crashes happen on High Street as people go in and go out from the different streets.
And this is only one way, so you can only go in. You can't go back out that way. So the traffic coming out to High Street is going to be from the same that it already exists, and less coming from my space.
So any way that you can discourage drivers from using that entrance and turning it into is accessible for pedestrians and people with disabilities would be great.
I hear you. But I am a small business, and that it would greatly increase my costs, and I'm just not certain that that's something that I can take on.
It's not part of the variance,
Right.
but I would strongly encourage you to consider it.
Thanks, Commissioner Morris. We have to vote. We have to vote. Sorry. No, don't be sorry. You patiently waited through a lot of other presentations. Is there any other burning comment from any other commissioners? Okay, we're gonna do voice vote for full variances that were on the agenda. Commissioner Morris,
Yes.
Commissioner Hiley,
Yes.
Commissioner Latta,
Yes.
Commissioner Lane Osborne,
Yes.
Commissioner Wyman,
No.
and I will vote yes. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, I can't count. 5 yeses, 1 no. The variance is passed. Congratulations on your project and your extension, and thank you for your patience. We are wrapping up right now. Thank you.